Sometimes a game comes out and people are completely normal about it. They enjoy it, they praise it, and then they move on with their lives. Unfortunately, every now and again, a game comes out that causes people to lose their minds over the weirdest things, guys. And that, my friends, brings us to today's topic, which is Capcom's newest game, Pragmata. So I've been playing it myself. I think I'm almost maybe halfway through or so. I don't really know, but what I can tell you is I'm having a blast. The elevator pitch, without really ruining or spoiling anything, is you play as a guy named Hugh, who's this soldier repairman kind of guy, who arrives on the moon with his squad of teammates from Earth to fix this lunar station, which is the setting of the game. You enter the station and nobody is there. In a lot of ways, this game kind of begins a lot like Dead Space 1 does. And eventually you figure out, oh yes, something bad has happened here, alright, and there's robots who have gone crazy that are trying to tear you apart. But the game is not a horror game, but anyways, a moonquake happens, you're separated from everybody and you fall down a big hole, and you're saved by this little robot girl who heals your wounds using 3D printed tech. Hugh then names this girl Diana, because her long factory code name starts with the letters D and I, and then Hugh quickly becomes protective of Diana as well. And then these two go on an adventure on this lunar station where everything is 3D printed, and the environments in the game are awesome. The gameplay is also great, and the game is probably one of my favorite games of the year so far, I also got to admit. Hugh and Diana's relationship is just wholesome. It's full of tender, cute moments where Hugh will cheer on Diana and they will high five. And Hugh will explain stuff to Diana, like the concept of family and what the ocean feels like to step in, because naturally they're on the moon. A lot of people online are calling the game Dad Space, because it's basically Dead Space, but you're a dad to a little robot girl, but the game is also not scary at all. It just has that classic Capcom finish to it instead. The game also aesthetically reminds me a lot of the game Vanquish. That's a great game, by the way, if you haven't played that one either. And overall, yeah, man, I think Pragmata is great so far. But apparently, if you like Pragmata, well, you're kind of a criminal now. Because Pragmata is apparently, according to some people online, a bad and very problematic game because it promotes child, how do I say this without getting demonetized? Child, you know what. You know what I'm saying, which is insane to categorize this game as, by the way. And if you enjoy Pragmata, it's because you're a fan of seeing little girls do things, and you're also being called a lolly, which I didn't even know what that meant. Apparently, lollies are child-looking characters that are also adults, which, from what I understand in Pragmata, that is not the case here at all. Diana is a robot girl, but she's permanently, from what I understand, a child in frame too. Even the way she thinks and acts are that of maybe a 5 or 6 year old at best. But nothing in the game whatsoever insinuates any sort of problematic or weird, fetish undertones at all. The game takes place in what's called the Cradle, an obvious nod to where a child is kept where they're born and all that, and as you play the story, this makes more sense why it's called that. And the various evil robots are all over, and there's 3D printed environments that run on something called Luna Filament in the game. Basically, the moon's surface is filled with this Luna Filament stuff, and the unique properties of the moon's environment, I guess, allows humanity in this game to use the resources found there to replicate anything they want using advanced 3D printing technology. It's really cool. That's why in the game there's trees and simulated oceans, or an entire section of the game where it's a 3D printed replication of New York City to explore. It's all created using the material that is found on the moon that's funneled through advanced, I guess, nanotech or something. Who cares? Whatever. It's not real. It's cool, alright? And it just gives you the excuse to have fun environments happen in a video game after all, right? But the fact that there are still those out here trying to say the game is somehow something that it isn't is the real problem here. And it proves to me anyways how these activist types, they hate anything that goes against their weird, skewed perception of life. Because at its core, in my opinion, Pragmata is all about family and the bond between a father and a daughter. And it's not what these weirdos on the internet are saying at all. Hugh is not some creepy, weird old guy. He's a 40-year-old soldier who wants to protect Diana at all costs from the evil robots. Yes, I know the obvious ties to something like Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us are very applicable here, or Kratos and Atreus as well, that works too. The whole narrative synergy of old grumpy guy meets young optimistic kid who teaches him how to live again gimmick that we've seen before. But hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know what I mean? Because it works in Pragmata, the same way it does in Last of Us and God of War. But like I said, you have weirdos that are trying to push their politics onto Pragmata and make it into something that it isn't. Like this user on Twitter, appropriately named Ghoulhag, as you can see here, who believes that Diana's design is problematic because she's in a game marketed at male gamers. and that art was made of her that you know what on Reddit as well, and as the response there says, the other user says that Diana looks like they put a model face on a little girl body, which that's just not true. And Ghoulhag, again, perfect name for these takes by the way, says that Diana looks like a you know what's perception of a child. Again, these people have not played the game, because if they did, they would realize that nothing that they are projecting is true at all. First of all, problematic images being made of characters, that is everywhere. That's across any fandom. I think it's gross by the way, and I don't support that at all. It doesn't surprise me that Diana's character model was subjected to that same treatment like every other character in existence these days too, but also it's Reddit. And Reddit is, who are we kidding, full of weirdos, so that is unfortunately not surprising at all, like given like the best of days. But trying to paint Capcom's new game as some Trojan horse of lolly, whatever you want to call it, is just kind of insane massive cope that proves that these activist types' brains are so fried from the state propaganda that they consumed their entire lives, that to even see a father and daughter act like family in their presence, that it's foreign and alien to them. What I do think about Pragmata is revealing a lot about its critics is that a lot of people are kind of telling on themselves that they did not have strong father figures in their lives whatsoever. Because if your first instinct is to look at a man protecting a child and suddenly believe that it's the darkest, most decrepit thing your mind can possibly imagine, I'm going to have to believe that your brain is probably broken by a combination of daily propaganda, SSRIs, and some weird form of feminism or radical equation that has caused you to look at something wholesome like this and immediately believe it to be the worst thing you've ever laid your eyes on. Like, that just seems to be what it is to me. Because all I get while I'm playing Pragmata is that Hugh and Diana's relationship is a father and a daughter. They want to protect each other. There's no weird whatever these people are insinuating that's going on. But I guess if you didn't have a father figure in your life, this could maybe be why they think this way. But I know people who didn't grow up with fathers, and they're totally normal people. So maybe it's more so that the propaganda these people are consuming on a daily basis than really anything else. Then there's another activist user, as you can see here, saying that Diana's design is made more attractive on purpose. The obvious AI example on the right is what this user thinks Diana should look like instead. But let's be real, if Diana looked like that example on the right, these same people would still have the same problems regardless with her design. Either way, there's nothing wrong with how she looks. She looks like a kid. I will admit that having her missing teeth would have been a nice touch, but again, she's a robot, not a human. So probably, I would assume anyways, Capcom just gave her teeth because it's easier to animate, but hey, I could be wrong. Either way, attacking what is so obviously a child design is also just weird to me because the whole game is centered around Diana. Plus, that woman's argument, like, it completely falls apart the longer you think about it too. Because what do you mean Capcom made a game to appeal to these, I don't know, predator types apparently by making the character of Diana, as this lady says herself, less childlike? Like, wouldn't that destroy your entire argument by your own logic? Like, you see what I mean? These people have no hope in their lives. It's just distraught, vain elitism that is meant to disguise the fact that they live objectively miserable lives, guys. For example, right, even your home base that you frequent in the game, it's called the Shelter, has digital playgrounds for Diana to play in while you upgrade your gear. You can find 3D printed swing sets, there's basketballs and skateboards and more for her to play with because again, she's a kid. And it's good to find these because you're given bonus items to then use for upgrades by doing so, by the way, so you should probably do that if you are playing the game. And then at certain points in the story, Diana will also give Hugh drawings that she drew with crayons as thank you presents for hanging out with her and going on an adventure with her. And it's all wholesome, and it had me many times while playing the game letting out a "aw" because it's adorable. Again, there's nothing weird going on here at all. I just think these people are just terminally online and their brains are just cooked, man. Like, here's one female streamer reacting to an early scene in the game where Hugh gives Diana her name, and you can see how innocent she responds to Hugh's name for her, and watch how the streamer lady here reacts to it too. Please, watch this.
Yes.
Hugh.
She's so
Diana,
cute.
Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana, Hugh, Diana.
Helmet on.
Diana?
Diana.
Just puts his helmet on. He's like, mid-conversation, I'm out. So good.
And as you saw, it was wholesome. That's literally the entire game so far for me. And I do find it funny how Pragmata might be propaganda, but in like the best way possible, actually. Because the game is acting like a Trojan horse for like liberal women to see that having kids is, you know, actually a good thing to do maybe. And that all that mental programming they had beaten into their skulls over years was done to condition them into believing that they should live childless free lives until they become old or something. Diana might cause some of these female streamers to see how adorable she is and go, you know what, maybe I should have kids. I saw some jokes that Pragmata is propaganda made to brainwash the Japanese public into wanting to have more kids too, and honestly, if that's the case, I'm all for it. Billions must be born, as they say. We can do better with more Japanese people being born especially too. So if Pragmata ends up making some of the women and the men out here who vowed to not have kids start having second thoughts, hey, I think that's a win in Capcom's books. Here's another female streamer reacting to Diana giving Hugh a picture that she drew of them both to put in the shelter, and watch how this streamer reacts to the picture. Please watch this.
She is so cute, and I don't even like kids, but I like her.
Hugh, thanks for talking to me all the time.
Did she give me a gift?
Ta-da!
Is this supposed to be when we first boarded the tram?
Uh-huh. I drew it. It's for you.
Oh, what do you
Look at
mean? I love
You're
it!
too.
It's so
Half bad, kid.
But she hung it up! She hung it up! It's so adorable! If she dies, I'm throwing my PC out the window.
The female streamer is wiping her tears because she's realizing in real time that having kids is not a bad thing to do, and that real joy comes from having people to share your memories with. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if the terminally online activist types eventually start calling Pragmata a pro-family far-right game eventually too, because oh no, they're promoting having children, and they're white. Someone, quick, call the police. We can't have that anymore. But this is what I mean. There's nothing wrong here at all. Instead, what you have is a game that is effectively a pure dose of optimism and happiness. And the liberal weirdo activist type's first response isn't, oh, how cute is that? But instead it's, oh my god, they're pushing people to have kids and loving families and stable homes. They're pushing the idea that people should, oh my god, love their fathers and it's okay to have children. Oh, the horror. Like, I have no idea how you can look at Pragmata and see nothing but the fact that it's a wholesome, nice game where you also shoot robots and hack them and do cool anime sequences too. I can't even speak again. My god, dude. But this is what propaganda has done to so many, right? That for them to see something so natural and pure, that their initial instinct is just disgust and vitriol because they're so far removed from what used to be normal. And that they believe the propaganda so heavily that it's altered their entire lives' trajectories. And the sad part is, these people, they don't even realize how far gone they really are, and that is horrible to see. If anything, like, that is the real tragedy here amongst all of this, you know? How can I make this about me and my insecurities? What do you mean the father loves his daughter? But that's alt-right, that's evil, isn't it? That's alt-right, that's actually normal, but I'm brainwashed, so it's bad now. I think how this user put it is pretty apt, which says, feminoids have indoctrinated themselves so deeply into the child-free ideology that the fact that guys like the concept of fatherhood, they perceive it as you know what. And that's really what has happened with this game. These people are so brainwashed, they don't even realize it anymore. Because the social programming has become indistinguishable from their everyday lives. That the very concept of confronting the social programming is like a computer shutting down and its apps no longer working as intended. Because they were sold a lie to not have kids and they believed it. So naturally anything promoting it, or if that is pure, will immediately be met with harsh confrontation. Because the activist weirdo types are unable to fathom the concept of legacy and responsibility. It's better to be what they are now forever because it's easier. But then again, it's always been easier to not push yourself or really to grow, so that also makes sense. It is within itself a defeatist attitude. The luxury of doing nothing has defeated their brains. There's nothing left to grind down into obedience because these people's brains are already nothing but paste already. Destroyed by decades of skillfully placed propaganda to believe that their legacies are not worth investing into, but it's better to stand aside and just let others enter and populate their environments than continue the very things that brought them life in the first place. It really is the bleakest of bleak, hope-filled moments of a game for Pragmata to drop the way that it did onto the gaming and general online landscape today, if you ask me. Because these sorts of people are so used to not having their beliefs challenged or their ways of life put under a microscope for all to see, that the very thought of how they've been living is actually objectively worse than what could be if they just hoped a bit more and strive to build a better world through their own free will, that it disgusts them when they're confronted with it. They despise the concept of their lives getting better, and that is all just rooted in fear, and fear is going to lead to rejection and denial. And that, my dear viewers, is what we're witnessing on display here. Pragmata has spirit bombed these people's belief systems. And fellas, I gotta admit, it's glorious to see. Pragmata isn't attacking you. It's not telling you to vote this way or whichever. All Pragmata is asking you through its gameplay, through its interactions, and its story is, do you dare to hope again? Are you capable of the love that family can bring if you are just willing to open yourself to it again? And the fact that this is being met with vitriol shows that there's a lot of work to do still, guys, because if you ask me, Capcom just dropped the biggest hope pill of them all. You know that meme of the guy getting injected with hope? That's literally Pragmata. I love the memes coming out of this too, by the way. Like this guy says here, if Naughty Dog made Pragmata, Hugh would get his brain smashed in with a baseball bat, Diana would be ugly and immediately lesbian because she has to be, every character would be evil and awful, there would be zero happiness, and yeah, they would just remaster it 3 times in 5 years probably too. The other problem, if you can even call it that, is as Kotaku reported here. People are attacking Pragmata because it has a Twitch emoji called Cryana, which is Diana crying, but in that cute anime way. Apparently, according to the usual crazy people, this means that Capcom is attaching Diana to the lolly fandom because there's a meme that is similar. Naturally, this now means that Capcom, a $1 million, maybe even $1 billion corporation, is now willing to risk their entire reputation over something that these people are stretching to connect Pragmata to so they can get mad about it. However, Kotaku disproves their own article at the end where they say this: it is more than possible that Capcom's marketing team is unaware of the connotations surrounding the reference and just thought turning Diana into a sobbing emoji would be a funny fit. Wow, Kotaku, you used common sense for once. I assume it was super effective, wasn't it? Are we being serious right now? These people are reaching so far because they see a happy family that they're losing their collective minds. I think a lot of people are also telling on themselves that they've never felt genuine happiness even for 1 second of their entire lives with how these people are responding to this game's existence. I gotta be real, man. It is sad to see. Here's the post, by the way, from Capcom showing this Cryana emoji, which started that social media firestorm of all these chronically online losers who can't think of anything but the most decrepit and disgusting things known to man when they see anything positive in this world. Another user, as Cabrutus Rambo retweeted here calling them a weirdo, was blocked by Capcom because they believe that Capcom censored Diana's design. Again, need to remind you, she's a kid. They were right to block this moron, by the way. But again, the memes are also coming out of this that are great, like this one, guys. Only want one thing and it's disgusting. And it's to, protect a little girl from the horrors of the world and be her shield and her father figure. First of all, based, and second of all, yes. Again, as you keep seeing, it's all wholesome. You see what I mean? Contrary to the freaks online, the majority of people who play games are actually normal and enjoy them, and don't really see the weird stuff like they do all the time. Pragmata has done nothing but fill me with hope the more that I play it. And I think this piece circling online perfectly encapsulates the Pragmata discourse as well. As you can see here, an ugly activist type staring at a dad and a little girl being wholesome together, miserable and hateful, at the very sight of something that they can never have because they've lived their entire lives destroying their identity and own well-beings due to being successfully reprogrammed by the propaganda around them. And it's brutal, dude. It really is brutal. Like, Shinzo Abe would be proud of this game existing. He's probably smiling down like Mufasa on everybody who's playing Pragmata, just telling us to remember who we are as he fades into the clouds. If you ask me, the discourse here is that a small group of hateful, very pathetic people want Pragmata to be torn down. And the backlash is just being met with absolute hope instead. Because when you strip away all the noise, all you're left with is a focused, creative science fiction game that is also engaging and very polished and rewarding to play. But this is what this is about, right? It's just how modern discourse works now. A narrative forms online, it then spreads, and people suddenly perceive something as it drifts from reality. And maybe at first glance you'd think Pragmata is some sort of disaster, when the actual response tells a completely different different story. Pragmata isn't actually being rejected at all. It's just being misrepresented by these bad actors. And what this tells me is that the more that this happens, it raises another question, which is just how many games are being judged not by what they are, but by what the internet has decided they represent instead. And if that continues, it's not about one game anymore. It becomes an industry strangled by the concept of perception mattering more than the reality. And that is a big problem if you ask me. Which is why, of course, this video now exists. No, Pragmata is not some weird fetish thing. It's a fun game. It's very polished and it's great to play. So you should play it if you like single-player third-person shooter games with really unique hacking mechanics. I didn't even speak about the hacking mechanics in this, but it's really awesome, man. They have different functions and nodes all over, and you have to use the face buttons, on PlayStation anyways. You have to use triangle, circle, X, and square as you aim with L2, and then you go down like a grid basically, and you play that in real time as you're shooting enemies, and then you use that to hack enemies, and there's different nodes, you can freeze them, you can multi-hack so it spreads the virus to other enemies, you can make them get confused and attack one another, or they take more damage, or they overheat. There's a lot to this game that I did not go over in this video, but safe to say it's really great. And then as you get those cabin coins and you do the whole bingo thing, and then you get a bunch of skins for Diana and Hugh to wear that are free, by the way. They're just in the game and you can unlock them by just playing the game. And then you have a bunch of guns and you can make different loadouts, and as you get new abilities, sort of like a Metroidvania, you can go back to earlier levels, and then you can get a bunch of upgrades and items that you couldn't get normally because you didn't have this ability or that ability yet. And the whole thing just kind of comes together, but it's in this AAA super polished, it's such a good game, dude. It's awesome. But anyways, and I guess don't play it if you're a miserable, chronically online person who couldn't even tell me with a straight face what a woman even is, I guess. But Pragmata is really just asking you to hope again, to give life a chance, right? And to see the brighter side to things for once. And fellas, we could use more of that if you ask me. So let's hope again, shall we? Let's all hope inject meme ourselves into a better future. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to. Thanks for being here. You matter. The world around you also matters. Don't give in to hate. And let's all be hope bros together.